Generally the roar starts about the end of March, running through to the last week of April, with the best time being around the 7th to the 10th. Of course there are always exceptions to the norm, like the time we heard one on the 11th of March, or when Father had one going on the 4th of June. Usually this will happen when a hind gets missed early on, and then comes on heat later in the season.
Sometimes you hope you can roar them up, and that's what we've got to do for the photography. Get it as close as possible.
The bush was fairly thick in this area with a lot of fern and pepperwood, and then with the added storm damage it made the going quite difficult and slow. When we first heard this stag he kept moving away, but once we closed the gap to within 50 metres or so, he decided to come back and check us out. Unfortunately the fern was so deep you could hardly see him over the top of it. The only advantage with this is that you've got plenty of cover to hide in. One thing that can help you in this type of country is the fact that you'll hear him coming from quite a distance away. It's important to keep roaring at him so he knows where to head. The last thing you want is for him to go past you where he could pick up your scent. As long as you've got the wind right, he may come really close. This is when it gets really exciting, and the hardest part now is trying to control the nerves and hoping he doesn't hear your heart thumping 3 times louder than normal. This guy came to within 3 metres of the camera. Now that's what I'm talking about. The next couple of days was full on continuous rain, and there's not a lot you can do when you're using a camera except wait it out. If you're using a rifle, of course you can still head out, although it's not the most pleasant, and you certainly don't want to go crossing any streams once that water starts rising. With the forecast looking good for the next week or so, it was time to head south. Time for a cruise on the Inter-Islander. It's always good to get that 3 hours of rest and relaxation to revitalise before the big drive south. It's a clear autumn day, the air is crisp and clean with a touch of frost. The birds are twittering and a stag's roaring just over the hill. Doesn't get much better than this, except of course maybe if there were 2 stags roaring just over the hill.
We left the track about 20 minutes ago, and we've come in from the road about 40 minutes. And it's just getting through some heavy crown fern here, and it's opening up nicely just out here. There's a distant stag roaring just over the top of the ridge there, so that's really quite promising. The weather's been beautiful down here at Fiordland for a couple of weeks now. It seems to still go on and on. It must be that drought summer we've been having. Anyway, let's check out this bit of beautiful bush.
Here's a prime example of how you can't always tell the size of a beast by the sound of his voice. This guy sounded like he's a big master stag with his deep throaty roar, and yet he turned out to be a very average fellow. But what a fantastic animal all the same. There was a steep drop-off just in front of us, so we decided to move location and try and find a spot where the stag could climb the slope and hopefully come in closer. We always try to get them in as close as possible for the camera. This was one of those unfortunate situations. We couldn't get down and he couldn't get up. It's possible he may have come really close had the country been more negotiable.
No.
You'll notice this guy had one antler broken off halfway up. We don't often see stags with broken antlers. Broken tines sometimes, but not broken beams. We can only assume the other guy was the bigger of the two and no doubt ended up with the hind. The stag was cooperative, but you can only hold their attention for so long. If you lose his interest, it's hard to get it back. And once they start moving away, they become suspicious, and it's harder still to turn them back.